Cheers. Well, today we're gonna be talking about a pretty crazy topic, being surrounded. Now, I've got my own little taste of being surrounded, not only in Ukraine, but also in Iraq. And I wanted to talk about that, especially as these books are coming out, like Sean Pinner's book on being surrounded in Mariupol, and then being captured, as well as Aiden Aslan's. Being surrounded sucks. I would definitely describe it as a not fun time, as opposed to a fun time. Being surrounded means that the momentum is on the other side. They're the ones pushing, they're the ones advancing. You got two choices. You can either stand your ground and probably die or get captured, or you can find a way to try and get back to your barracks and sort of sneak out of there, sneak out of the situation. But then there's problems such as getting shot by your own friendlies because they're waiting for the advance, or even some disciplinary action because you ran away.
Even the sniper killed his people for the same reason. He was just not warned that people were coming there. So he saw the movement, shot and killed 2 people from our unit.
Even the Russians are coming out and saying that they have these specific units that are meant to be on the second line, and when the first line is tired of getting bombarded for 2 weeks, they run away. And then these guys' jobs are to stop them, either by force, by shooting at them, or forcing them to go back to the front line, stay there under the bombardment or whatever it is. Now, my situation when I was in Ukraine, it's well documented. I put out a 40-minute video, everybody's seen it, blah, blah, blah. But the worst part about that situation was that the leadership was starting to fail. There was a total lack of commands, and that was because some people were running away, some people were moving here and there, and where's our command? We don't have radio signal anymore, there's people moving in. A lot of confusion, a lot of fog of war, and that's just what happens when the Russians are coming from all angles. Communication and command and leadership is one of the first things to go. And it's scary. Being a private, being just a rifleman, it's terrifying. It's really, really bad. And that's kind of what Sean Pinner was describing in his book. I was able to read both their books, and for the first, I would say, 100 pages or so, it's his documentation of the first days of the war, getting surrounded in Mariupol, how the first week or two that they were in Mariupol and surrounded, the food and the water started to dry up, the leadership was starting to fail, not only small unit leadership, but also the higher command, and entire companies were having to make decisions on their own. Even small units, like 4 people, 20 people, they were sort of evacuating on their own. They were confused. They didn't know who to listen to, and okay, I'm gonna do my thing. I'm gonna try and escape. And that is just not a fun time, like I was saying. Now, my other experience being surrounded was in Iraq. And we were pretty much surrounded the entire time. We were in this sort of island of this mountain chain. The mountain chain was protected. We had tunnels, we had bunkers, we had civilians who really liked us because we were defending them from ISIS and other actors, and yeah, we had a good time there. But surrounding all of us, we had the border of Syria, which obviously we can't cross. It's very heavily defended from both sides. And in all these other directions, we're surrounded by these villages that are complicit to ISIS, and we're surrounded by these giant armies, which I won't even get into too much, that just did not like us. They hated us, they wanted us out of this mountain chain really, really bad. So we were surrounded. If we tried to leave, we would be arrested on the spot or shot. But at the same time, they didn't shoot at us. They were sort of just locking us down. They wanted to keep us controlled. And that's when the drones come into play. Drones and jets. And that's one big factor of drone warfare that I think people forget. Drones make you surrounded. They are the ones who are right above your head. They're watching every direction. Anywhere you go, they can strike. Is that not surrounded? At the mercy of this thing. That is what surrounded means, in my opinion, and that's what drone warfare brings. And that's what the Turkish Bayraktars and the Kinchi drones that they're bringing into Shengal, where I was in Iraq, that's what they're bringing to the table. We were locked down. We had to stay in the tunnel, and we couldn't go outside at a certain time. And there was even a point where the Iraqi army really wanted us out. They were pressured by Turkey in order to get us out of this mountain chain. So I remember very distinctly at nighttime, I forget exactly which day, but we had about 4 people up in our tunnel base, and we were told they were going to be attacking very, very shortly here. Probably tonight they're going to be bombing and invading our mountain chain, these groups that wanted us out. So the Iraqi army came up to sort of have a political negotiation as opposed to a war. And I remember seeing their Humvees ride up the mountain, up pretty much our only trail up the mountain. 20 strings of red lights that were dispersed, and it was very professional. Just watch these red lights enter our big cave. And our commander had pretty told them, go fuck yourself. We have a bunch of dushkas, we have everything, and we're just here to defend the Yazidi population. And the Iraqi army agreed. They're like, yeah, I know, we're being pressured right now. If you guys don't leave, okay. Somehow there's some sort of agreement. Now, the big part that I want to talk about is that before this happened, we didn't know if it was going to be a giant attack, if the politics were going to fail, and we were going to be at war, completely surrounded, and probably going to die. And our commander, about 10 days before the potential invasion, he had told us that being a guerrilla, being a fighter, there's nothing more important than morale. I don't care about the training you do. Yes, I want you to be trained, but the training is not the most important. The best guns and the best equipment and the best gear and plate carriers and helmet, night vision, none of that is as important as good morale. If you have morale, if you know that the person to your left and right cares about you, and if you know that myself as the leadership cares about you, cares about your well-being, and cares about making sure that you are not going to die, that is the most important thing. And I can't agree more. I really can't agree more. And I think that's something to be said. When you're being surrounded, that is the worst case any soldier can find themselves in. It makes your heart drop. In the middle of a gunfight, in the middle of whatever it is, that is not a good feeling to have when you're in combat. But what kept me in Shengal, what kept me ready to tackle anything that was gonna happen that night, I knew that I was gonna have food. They had brought up a ton of food for us to last us for years. They brought up a ton of water for many, many years. They brought up tons of ammunition. They made sure that we were ready to go and we were gonna be protected. They brought up even some extra gear and stuff, just saying, hey, we don't have everything. We're not a rich militia, but we're gonna give you absolutely everything we can because we care about you. We want the defense of Shengal to stand. And we're gonna be right here with you in the tunnels, and we're gonna be ready to hand in hand confront this enemy. That meant so much to me. It meant so much that all of us stood our ground. And luckily it didn't turn into a war, but the statement still stands. Morale is the most important thing. Right now we're looking at President Zelensky, and he's been on the news last month saying, don't forget about Ukraine. And the world's morale to go and fund a war and to think about a war for more than even a month, if you're looking at Israel right now, people are forgetting already. It goes away very, very quickly. I'm surprised at how long people's morale is kept up for Ukraine. I think it's because it's an obviously terrible war that Russia started. But at the end of the day, we're seeing a lot of confusion, a lot of news outlets not really talking about Ukraine anymore. And that's understandable to a point. But what Zelensky and what even Israel is talking about right now, as people are losing attention, they're both saying the same thing. Keep morale, keep thinking about us, keep fighting. This war is not stopped. We are going to continue to push, whether you are here to back us or not. But I urge you, please God, do not forget about us. Do not forget about what happened on February 24th, 2022. Do not forget about the countless lives and how the Russians are every single day sending shaheeds to go and bomb these electoral stations, making people freeze to death in their apartment buildings. Do not forget about this. This is happening every single day. Keep your morale, keep fighting. And I think that is the most important part. And I would definitely agree with Zelensky on that point. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on being surrounded. I don't know, I sort of went on a tangent, but I want to definitely mention morale in this video. And besides that, guys, I really appreciate your support of my channel. You guys keep my morale up in order to put out videos like this, and your support is directly helping many, many of my friends, and I can't thank you enough for that. So anyway, I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.